Yeah, welcome everyone, Sanju Chia here. So welcome back to the channel where today we'll be talking about Yashahime Princess Half Demon episode 2. Of course, it's the new era of Inuyasha and it's only natural. I like Inuyasha. It's a series that I hold dear to my heart, honestly. Those late nights staying up to watch, like catch it on Adult Swim. And unfortunately falling asleep sometimes and waking up and saying shit, I missed it. Yes, we. So naturally, I'll be covering all episodes of the series, whether it be just this traditional review style here or reactions and reviews. So of course, hit that subscribe button for more Yashahime, that notification bell. We're also on our way to 1,000 subscribers, so I'd appreciate this support. But let's get into today's review slash impressions of Yashahime Princess Half Demon, because today's episode was definitely a solid one where it really and truly made me ask a bunch of questions. And in my book, this early on with episode 2, any show that makes me like curious and asks a bunch of questions is a solid thing in my book. So let's start off. The episode starts off with Toa and Setsuna. We get a flashback just to get more of an idea, more context of where their story genuinely began. Because the thing is with episode 1 is that it really started like further down in the timeline, not too far I think, but with episode 2 it seems like we're going to start building up to that flash forward before progressing with the story, just to get a better understanding of the characters and the context and the current world, in terms of the state of the world, I would say. So yeah, so we start off with Toa and Setsuna. We get to see them, just a bit of them, how they were as like what, 4-year-old twins just in the forest. And of course immediately I'm wondering, where's Sesshomaru? But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, we see them how they've been, handling life, and eventually after a crisis where the forest is set on fire, Setsuna and Toa get separated, with Toa being sent to the present. No, I must say it's interesting to see a lot of the characters in this episode and how they've progressed, how the characters who were either kids or teenagers before have grown up, such as Sota and Kohaku, and even Moroha and Sango's son Hisui in this episode. So that's nice. There's a sense of progression in this episode, which I must say is a positive for the episode as well. But of course Toa is sent to the present, and we see how she's, I guess for the lack of a better term, gotten accustomed to life in the present, while still clinging on to that faint feeling, that faint memory of her sister and the world that she came from. Now, I actually like the characterization that's on display for Toa in this episode, even through the dialogue and what she says in this episode based on her interactions over the 10 years that she's been in the present with other persons. It's obvious to see she's developed this particular worldview. She's sick and tired of societal norms, and it's obvious that it extends to the fact that it will probably build up to this whole theme of she doesn't belong in this world. And of course, given that we'll be jumping between timelines, of course that does add or work with the whole structure of that fact. The fact that we'll be jumping between timelines, so that's going to be good. I like seeing that. And even her interacting and fighting with the bullies, things like getting into fights and being expelled from schools, transferring schools, there's just stuff like that is to be expected for a half demon. And of course it's no problem, she's half demon, of course she's going to win. She's physically stronger in every sense of the word than everybody she's gone up against, so it is what it is. So there's that. And of course it says a lot about her character. She has a strong sense to, she's very protective, and that's echoed in the fact that she said she stood up to a bully. Well, she protected somebody from a bully, so that was good to see. Now, that aside, we're also introduced again to Moroha and Setsuna in this episode, and reintroduced to Kohaku and Hisui, as well as Kalala and the Demon Slayers. Now, one thing I also love about this episode is seeing the alliances that are on display. Having Sesshomaru's daughter align with the Demon Slayers, I thought was very very reminiscent of that, that time that Kohaku spent with Sesshomaru. And honestly, it feels like a generational extension of that, if I could phrase it like that. So it's good to see that relationship, that dynamic going forward. But going forward from that, we have a situation where Moroha has been, accused of attacking a village, and we have Setsuna coming into the picture with the demon slayers to actually capture Moroha, our Inuyasha, the destroyer of lands. Yo, I love Moroha's character. I'm not gonna lie. It's yeah, I think she's gonna be a fan favorite when it comes on to this series. I'm not gonna lie. I'm loving her personality so far. I'm loving the character so far in terms of what I've been seeing. Very funny character. Um, so yeah. So of course we have this plot that's introduced in this episode, with starting with Misstress Centipede, because apparently you can start an Inuyasha series without a Misstress Centipede, and here we are, Misstress Centipede. So Misstress Centipede is revealed to be the actual demon that's attacking the village, and of course we're introduced to the concept of rainbow pearls in this episode, and it just keeps, I feel like the episode just keeps adding, make it just keeps making me ask question after question, because thinking back on the Inuyasha series, right? Fans of Inuyasha know that Inuyasha possessed what was known as the Black Pearl. In the early on episode, the earliest set of episodes where the Tetsaiga was a big part of what was being sought after by the main characters and antagonists of the time, Sesshomaru. And we know that the Black Pearl existed as a gateway to Inuyasha's father's grave. So now it makes me question the pearls that these three girls have, the daughters of Inuyasha and Sesshomaru. How do these pearls actually, factor into the overall, the bigger picture where this plot is concerned? Because even by the end of this episode, where we have Moroha and Setsuna and Lady Centipede basically dragged to the present, the Tree of Ages, well, or at least what I thought would have been the Tree of Ages, it seems like there's something else at work here. Um, Basically, the voice or whatever it was used the power of the Tree of Ages to bring them to the present. So these rainbow pearls are obviously going to be part of the bigger picture, the bigger narrative, and I'm interested in seeing how it potentially may factor into the whereabouts, or the reason why we're not seeing Inuyasha, Sesshomaru, Kagome, and everybody else. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. Apart from the fact that it's almost like an excuse to tie the fates of Towa, Setsuna, Moroha together. Yeah. So there's that. Um. So yeah. So we have a side plot where we have Towa deal with some bullies and some family kidnapping, which I wasn't too worried about because Towa have demons, Sesshomaru's daughter, so that's sorted out. Of course, what was interesting about that part, and what ties back into what I was saying before, where there's this theme of Towa not feeling like she can really and truly conform to the present day societal norms, because there's this line by her where she said, like, you know if you don't conform to the set rules in the society, they treat you as an outcast. And the fact that she's saying, males should be masculine and females should be feminine, is like she wants to go against the status quo of the present. So I feel like it's going to play a part in her whole character arc for this series, in terms of where she ends up, and just her development and her coming to terms with whatever internal conflict she needs to get over. So I imagine once she experiences the past, it's going to be fun and interesting to see how her perception of the world in general actually evolves. So that's going to be fun to see. So by the end of it, we have Moroha and Setsuna in the present with Lady Centipede, and we have Toa having a losing battle. Well, her sword just broke, so there's that. But of course, Lady Centipede more or less is going to be dealt with by next episode, based on the preview at least. But the episode essentially ends there. 9 minutes, yeah. So yeah, I thought it was a solid episode. I really appreciate the questions that the episode has me asking based on my prior knowledge of Inuyasha, but at the same time there's enough questions to be asked, and by extension set up for an eventual payoff. There are a lot of story elements that aren't too, they don't feel repetitive. It doesn't feel like there are plot lines that are being just copied and pasted or slightly twisted for this new generation so far, and that is probably the biggest positive I would feel for this episode. And apart from that, I love the characters so far. There's a true sense of progression with all the characters you see on screen. Well, all the old characters that you see on screen from the, you know, the previous series, as well as the current set of characters. Even though there's still more to be, well, I still need to see more. I think in terms of the three main characters, their characters are being pushed in the right direction. Because when with these new generation series, the big thing is feeling like you're copying the parent, having the new generation characters feel like carbon copies of the parents. But I don't feel like that's the case, because Moroha, I feel, is almost like, so far personality wise, it seems like a nice mesh between Inuyasha and Kagome, with even some extras. I would feel Toa, she's, well, I wouldn't say she's like Sesshomaru, but because of her upbringing and where she's been throughout the timeline, of course, that kind of informs or basically determines, well, it basically decides how she's being portrayed now, which I thought was pretty good. And Setsuna, obviously she's the most like Sesshomaru, but I can see the potential for her character. She's more how should I say? I think she'll be more impressionable than Sesshomaru, so it's going to be interesting to see how her character goes along. But I would imagine it's going to be highly dependent on the dynamic between her and Toa, so that's going to be fun. Now, one thing I will say, Moroha is broken. Honestly, yo, I'm even interested in Moroha. Well, I was gonna say Moroha and Toa's, but probably more so Moroha's. I'm interested to see where she got that sword from as well. But it makes me wonder, does Kohaku not know that Moroha is Kagome and Inuyasha's child? Granted, based on the preview, it does seem like some memory wiping shits is going down. So, yeah. So, I guess we can only wait and see when I think about it. But hey, I thought it was solid. I'm looking forward to episode 3. More than likely, I might, well, next week Sunday. No, next week Sunday. I was gonna say I was gonna react to the next episode, but that might be out of stretch. I might be out of the water for next week. Eh. But anyway, let me know what you thought about the episode in the comment section below, people. Sanju Uchiha here are let me think about this. Inuyasha. Sanjay Yasha. Destroyer of YouTube. Nah, that sounds stupid. Anyway, hope you guys are staying safe. See you guys in the next Yashahime video.